Beneath the heart of Vatican City lies one of the most mysterious collections of documents on Earth. For centuries, rumors have surrounded it. Secret letters, forbidden manuscripts, lost confessions, ancient reports, hidden records from kings, popes, emperors, and men who changed the world. Some believe the Vatican Archives contain evidence that could rewrite history. Others believe the truth is far more ordinary, but no less powerful. Because inside these walls are not just old papers. They are the private memory of the Catholic Church. A memory stretching across more than 1,000 years. But why were so many documents locked away? What secrets were powerful enough to be sealed from public eyes? And could some of history's greatest mysteries still be hidden inside the Vatican's most guarded archive? Tonight, we enter the story of the Vatican Archives, where faith, power, politics, and secrecy collide. The name itself sounds like something from a conspiracy thriller. The Secret Vatican Archives. But the word, secret, did not originally mean mysterious or forbidden. It came from the Latin word secretum, meaning private. These were the private archives of the Pope. Not a public library. Not a museum. Not a place built for tourists. It was a vault of memory, created to preserve the internal records of the Catholic Church. Today, it is officially known as the Vatican Apostolic Archive. But for many people, the older name still carries a powerful image. Endless corridors, forbidden rooms, locked cabinets, and documents that only a few chosen scholars are allowed to touch. And while many wild rumors are exaggerated, one thing is true. The Vatican Archives contain some of the most important historical documents ever preserved. The Vatican Archives are not a single hidden room. They are a massive collection of historical records stored within Vatican City. Letters from monarchs, papal decrees, diplomatic reports, trial records, missionary accounts, political correspondence, documents from some of the most turbulent periods in human history. The collection covers centuries of religious, political, and cultural events. In many ways, the archive is a silent witness to the rise and fall of empires. It contains records involving kings and queens, wars and treaties, heresy trials, scientific controversies, crusades, reformations, revolutions, and world-changing decisions made behind closed doors. But access has always been limited. Not because every document contains a dark secret, but because many are fragile, sensitive, difficult to interpret, or connected to complex historical events. Still, the restricted nature of the archive has made it a perfect breeding ground for mystery. Because when something is locked away, people naturally ask, what are they hiding? To understand the Vatican Archives, we have to understand the power of the medieval church. For centuries, the Catholic Church was not only a religious institution. It was also a political force. Popes advised kings, excommunicated rulers, approved alliances, condemned enemies, negotiated peace, influenced wars. In medieval Europe, a letter from Rome could change the fate of a kingdom. And every letter, every decision, every order needed to be recorded. The Church preserved documents not only for memory, but for authority. A document could prove ownership of land. A papal seal could validate a royal marriage. A decree could decide whether a ruler had divine support. So the archive became more than storage. It became a weapon of legitimacy. Whoever controlled the records controlled the story. And whoever controlled the story could shape history itself. One of the most famous mysteries connected to the Vatican Archives involves the Knights Templar. The Templars were warrior monks, rich, powerful, and feared. They protected pilgrims during the Crusades and became one of the wealthiest military orders in Europe. But in the early 1300s, everything collapsed. The King of France, deeply in debt to the Templars, accused them of heresy, corruption, and secret rituals. Templars were arrested, tortured, and forced to confess. Their order was eventually dissolved. For centuries, people wondered, were the Templars truly guilty? Or were they destroyed because they had become too powerful? One of the most important documents connected to this mystery is known as the Shinan parchment. This document showed that Pope Clement V had personally investigated some Templar leaders and appears to have absolved them from certain accusations of heresy. The parchment did not prove the Templars were completely innocent of every charge, but it complicated the story. It showed that the official destruction of the Templars was not simple. It involved politics, pressure, fear, money, and power. And for many, it proved something chilling. Sometimes history is not written by the innocent or the guilty. It is written by whoever survives long enough to preserve the records. Another famous chapter hidden in Vatican records is the trial of Galileo Galilei. Galileo argued that Earth moved around the Sun, a view that challenged the accepted understanding of the universe at the time. Today, Galileo is remembered as a symbol of scientific courage. But in the 1600s, his ideas were seen by some church authorities as dangerous. The issue was not only astronomy, it was authority. If traditional interpretations could be challenged by observation, what else could be questioned? Galileo was investigated, tried, and forced to recant. For centuries, his trial became one of the most famous examples of conflict between science and religion. The Vatican's preserved records offer a deeper look into the case. They show a world where theology, politics, personality, and scientific discovery all collided. Galileo was not simply fighting ignorance. He was standing inside a system where truth had to pass through power before it could become accepted. The documents do not just reveal what happened to Galileo. They reveal how difficult it can be for institutions to admit when the world has changed. The Vatican Archives also contain correspondence from some of the most powerful figures in world history. One of the most famous examples involves King Henry VIII of England. Henry wanted his marriage to Catherine of Aragon annulled. When the Pope refused, the conflict helped trigger England's break from Rome and the birth of the Church of England. This was not just a marriage dispute. It changed religion, politics, and identity across England for centuries. A king's desire for an heir became a turning point in European history. And somewhere in the preserved records are the traces of that struggle. Appeals, letters, legal arguments, diplomatic pressure, and the slow collapse of unity between England and the Vatican. Documents like these show us something important. History is not always changed on the battlefield. Sometimes it changes through ink, parchment, signatures, and silence. In the early 1800s, the Vatican Archives faced one of their greatest threats. Napoleon Bonaparte, the French emperor, ordered many Vatican records to be transported to Paris. Imagine it. Centuries of church history packed into crates and moved across Europe. The archive, once protected inside Vatican walls, was suddenly part of an imperial project. Napoleon understood something many rulers understood. Archives are power. To control records is to control memory. And to control memory is to control identity. After Napoleon's defeat, many documents were returned to Rome. But the journey was chaotic. Some records were damaged. Some were lost. Some were sold as scrap. Some never returned. The event proved that even the most protected archive in the world could be vulnerable. Because documents may look fragile, but to powerful men, they can be as valuable as armies. One of the most sensitive and controversial areas of Vatican history involves the Second World War. During this period, the world watched the rise of fascism, Nazism, genocide, and global destruction. Questions have long surrounded the role of Pope Pius XII and the Vatican during the war. What did the Vatican know? What did it do? What did it fail to do? What actions were taken quietly, away from public view? These are difficult questions, and they are not easily answered by rumors or simple accusations. They require documents, letters, diplomatic notes, internal reports, eyewitness accounts, communications between church officials and governments. This is why archive access matters. Because in the absence of documents, people fill the silence with speculation. But when the records are opened, history becomes more complex. Not always cleaner. Not always more comfortable, but more human. The Vatican's wartime records continue to attract intense attention from historians because they touch one of the darkest chapters of modern history. And they remind us that archives are not just about the distant past. Sometimes they hold wounds that are still not fully healed. Because the Vatican Archives are restricted, they have become the subject of endless rumors. Some claim they contain lost books of the Bible. Others imagine secret evidence about Jesus, Mary Magdalene, alien contact, ancient civilizations, or forbidden prophecies. These ideas are popular because they are dramatic. They turn the archive into a vault of world-shaking secrets. But the real power of the Vatican Archives may be different. Not fantasy. Not science fiction. Not one single document that destroys everything we know. The true mystery is more subtle, and perhaps more frightening. The archives contain the paper trail of power. They show how institutions make decisions, how leaders protect themselves, how truth can be delayed, how history can be shaped, hidden, corrected, or controlled. The darkest secrets may not be supernatural. They may be human. Ambition, fear, silence, compromise, survival. And that is what makes the archive so powerful. Because the truth does not always need to be impossible to be disturbing. Sometimes it only needs to be real. The Vatican Archives are not just a collection of old documents. They are a mirror of history itself. Inside them are the traces of kings and rebels, scientists and saints, wars and scandals, faith and fear. For centuries, these records were protected from the outside world. Some were hidden because they were private. Some because they were fragile. Some because they were politically dangerous. And some, perhaps, because the truth was too complicated for its time. But every archive has one final secret. It reminds us that history is never fully dead. It waits. In sealed letters. In forgotten reports. In handwritten notes no one has read for centuries. And somewhere deep inside the Vatican's endless memory, there may still be documents capable of changing how we understand the past. Not because they reveal myths, but because they reveal people. And sometimes, the most dangerous secret in history is not what was hidden, but why it had to be hidden in the first place.